Welcome to the Uplifters podcast, where every week I get the incredible joy and privilege of talking to amazing, inspiring women who are doing big, brave things in the world. This week, I am totally geeking out because I get the chance to talk to and introduce you to Dr. Isabelle Raymond. She's an author, she's a scientific leader, she has a PhD in biomedical science. And recently, she's been working in the beauty and wellness industries and currently serves as the head of clinical and medical affairs at Nutrafol, a company that I just love and am so delighted to have sponsor this episode. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's built on really solid science and a whole body approach, which just align with everything I am passionate about. And you guys know I'm just a total science nerd and research geek. And the work that Isabelle and her team are leading in this category is just really thrilling, especially for those of us who are in our second half of life. Really, it's just so exciting to see companies taking women's second half of life seriously and researching it independently. And I know Isabelle is behind so much of that. It's a really big day over here. So Isabelle, I'm really just so happy to have you join us today to get to know you a little bit better. You've kind of done it all and really been around the biomedical block. Is that a thing? Did I just make that up?
Yeah, I love it. I love the biomedical block.
Around the
BMB.
Exactly. Welcome to the Uplifters.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I've listened to you and I'm just thrilled to be part of this Uplifters community.
Oh my gosh. I love the work you're doing. And it, like I said, it aligns so deeply and perfectly with the work that we're doing here on the Uplifters. And I want to start by just talking a little bit about your journey. So many of us in this community are currently living through major life pivots and transitions of all sorts. And I know this shift from a solid research background to executive leadership within this brand in the beauty and wellness industries was a big move for you. So give us a little background on how you went from that original career path to where you are now.
Thank you. Yes, both my parents were academics at universities, and I knew I did not want to do that. And I told myself I would never do a PhD. And, you can't help yourself. You go and you're curious, and it just meshed really well. But I actually started I'm a neuroscientist by training. I studied sleep medicine and psychology. So I think I went through everything, yes, and yet I know nothing about menopause. And we'll get to that in a second. But it's just so funny because I feel like I started out, studying sleep and dreams and PTSD and burn patients, and how that led to, moving to the United States, not knowing what I was going to do with my career, because unless I'm an academic, right? Because it's a very niche project that I was working on. And what am I going to do with this? And so when I moved to the States, I'm French Canadian. I came in almost 20 years ago now, not knowing what I was going to do. Just met a guy, followed him to the States.
As one does.
As one does. And just, I'll figure it out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out. And I was asking questions. What does someone with a PhD do? And really joined pharmaceuticals because I didn't want to be an academic. I know the lifestyle. My partner was academic, and it's not a life for me. Mm-hmm. I welcome it and I applaud them, but not for me. So joined pharmaceuticals, but I was working in cardiovascular, and I worked in neurology, and I worked in pain, and I worked in sleep tied to what I was doing, and then worked in neurology, epilepsy. And so I feel like I've done so many things. And I kind of entered the dermatology realm via neurotoxins. So I was studying neurotoxins for spasticity, cervical dystonia, and all these things really relate to muscles. And then I had dermatologists tell me, well, what are the effects on wrinkles? I was like, what do you mean? And so I was introduced to the world of dermatology and aesthetics, and I was like, love it so much. And so I've never left. So from there, I've really studied medical dermatology and a lot of different products, but always within the either medical devices or drugs, so pharmaceutical route. I was always very familiar with that because what studies you need to do. And so wellness, I was not so much into that because I'm a scientist and I need data. And I met the founders of Nutrafol at conferences and love them. They were so kind and so nice and just so so sure about what they were doing.
Mm.
And I was like, how can you be so sure about this? And so I started to talk with them, and over the years, and they said, join us. I was like, I'm not sure, right? I think this is kind of like a big move. I don't want to be taken seriously. And
Mm.
honestly, I think it's been one of the best moves because I love entering a field, really being able to apply what I've learned, how I can do things, and how I can apply scientific methodologies to a field that doesn't always require it
Mm.
to be on the market, but it's just, and the flexibility and the freedom to be able to, let's study this and let's look at this, and really be able to apply that. And as a woman, really being able to like talk about the endpoints that matter to
Yeah.
us, because it wasn't dictated by what the FDA is telling you. You need to measure these things, because if you study a drug, usually the FDA will tell you these are the endpoints that you must measure in order to get approval. But since
Huh.
we don't have any measures, because we don't need to have this approval, what are we going to study? And of course, we use measures that are scientifically sound, but what about menopausal women? What about postpartum women? And so that just opened up a huge field for me that I'm so happy to be a part of and so proud of it.
Wow. It sounds like maybe at the outside, your career could sound like a bit of a firework, right? Kind of going in different directions. But actually, it sounds like it was all very much going in one direction, which was the direction of your curiosity.
It was. And it's so funny. Looking back 20 years ago, I never would have thought I would be in this environment, or even have the thought that I could be able to determine what these endpoints are, like, because they matter, right? Having that impact to me has
Hmm.
been so important. And not only that, but because I was living through it, it also helped say, like, we need to study this because I know that I'm feeling this. So being able to like add your experience, again, I hate to talk about anecdotes because the flow of anecdote, in my opinion, is not data, right? People say the same thing 3 times. It doesn't mean that it's data, but it is an indication that maybe you
Yeah.
need to go look there. Go
Yeah.
evaluate it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm big on the good old qual data, and I actually think it's tremendous data, right? It tells us where to look, and that's actually the other big theme that I'm hearing in here is something that I think is so important and not often discussed, which is how, as women, I mean, there is a huge body of evidence to indicate that our health, our individual unique needs are not taken seriously. And so that phrase, when you used it to say, like, if I were to get into this space, would I no longer be serious? Would I no longer be doing valid science if I was working in supplements? And I think it sounds like now you've said no. Actually, it's the most serious thing because it's allowing me to take seriously understudied aspects of women's health.
So well put. You're so good at what you do. Exactly. We are always thinking we want to, search where people are going and focus on the next hot thing or the next interesting thing. And then looking back, just wait, hold on a second. There's half the population that's not studied. And we just infer data from men to women. And I don't think I even realized that. And that's the thing that kind of kills me, because I felt fairly educated in everything I've done. And I've read studies, and again, all these different cardiovascular, and reading studies about medication for blood pressure or for, high cholesterol, never once questioning, were women studied in these?
Right.
Never. I just
Right.
assumed, right? And I think most people do. And I didn't even look at the data that way because that's what was done. And so when we started talking about hair, and when I joined Nutrafol, again, I knew a little bit too, because as I get older, I'm like, wait, hold on a second. I don't see myself in any of these studies. But when they came out with 2 products, one for men, one for women, I was like, why? Well, because there's different
Mm.
needs. And so we cannot study our populations in the same study. We have to study them differently. And then we have menopausal women. I was like, hold on a second. Like, it's so basic. Like, it's so groundbreaking, but it's so basic.
You guys were the first ones
I
to
know.
do
I know.
talk about this.
It's insane to me that we are the first hair brand supplement to study menopausal women with hair thinning.
And one of few to study it, period. Right? To study
Yeah.
menopausal women
There's,
and their
again,
individual
yeah,
needs.
there's things specifically related to hair. I know there's a lot of studies out there on not compared to men, not even close. Let's not even pretend it's the same. There are some studies, but it's just, you have your typical hot flashes, and you talk about very
Yeah.
symptoms that are your menopause brain here. Sorry, what is the
Let's
word?
normalize it, okay? Like, it doesn't make you any less smart.
It drives me
or
insane though.
capable or right to forget a word. So I'm
Yeah.
actually super glad you did. So thank
Yeah,
you for
it's
just
just, God, it happens
saying
so
it.
much more now. But it really, looking at women shouldn't be an afterthought.
No.
And understanding that because we go through changes monthly and the hormones are a huge impact. So let me take a step back. If you study men, it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense because they don't have the variation throughout the month.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to really make sure that your product is the result, or the results, or the effect or the results of your product, then you want to control every variable possible. So you want to make sure that you control everything. You have a very similar population. So if I see a difference, it's because I took this, right? For women,
Makes
it's like,
sense.
okay, well then what did you control for the time of month? Did you control? So it's harder. So I can see people just, it's too hard and we really want to see this. But it's like, well, it's still half the population. And don't you want to know what happens? So this just kind of opened up. It's like you see the world and then you kind of like just kind of, you really have to take these things into account. And like, this is right for you at this time, or this is not right for you at this time, because then you can really think about your health, your wellness, your beauty, at a time that you know it's going to change, and that's okay, right?
Yeah. And just like brain fog, normalizing that this isn't something wrong with you.
But if you don't know, like I know you know about hot flashes, you know about
Right.
the loss of periods, but I didn't know about brain fog.
No, I
I
was
didn't.
honestly, and with the hair stuff, I was so shocked. I will tell you how I really like started noticing how much my hair was shedding. I was in the car on a long, like 5 hour car trip with my family. This is probably disgusting. I don't know why I'm sharing it, but I just kind of kept running my hands through my hair. And for 5 hours, I never stopped pulling out
Oh my
shedded
gosh.
hair.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all, I think there's a problem.
Yeah, this is not okay. This
This
is
is not
I
okay.
no, but the thing is, like, if you have to notice, because like, what is normal? Is this normal? Is this not normal? Is it
Yeah,
normal for
this,
me? Is it normal for my age? Is it normal for the seasons? Right? There's all
but
these
nobody's
things that
talking about it.
no,
So how would I know?
no, I didn't listen. I didn't know either, which is again so
Yeah.
it's almost
Tell me,
embarrassing.
how is that?
I just started Nutrafol 2020 January,
Okay.
just before the pandemic, and then we all went home and you started being on camera, and we were doing this menopausal study during COVID. Oh my God. And so I said, well, what happens to women during menopause? Hair, and they said part whitens, and I'm of course on Zoom or whatever camera we're on, and I'm like, oh crap. And I was like, wait, no, it's we assume that
My
menopause
solution
is
was bangs.
happens when you. I'm about to get bangs actually, but you assume that it's going to be so much older. I always thought you think of the Golden Girls, and you think of like much older, not in your 40s.
Mm-mm.
You talk about menopause, but not perimenopause. And so again, I'm like, why am I this educated without knowing anything that I'm going through? And so I think knowledge to me, like I always like to know things because then I can understand them, and it reduces anxiety and all these other things. And so if you don't know, it can be very, very, very scary.
I was reading the Nutrafol
Yes.
magazine for menopause that you guys sent over. It's full of so much good
So good.
data, but the fact that there are so few doctors who are receiving any amount of training in the needs of women over 40 is shocking. I mean, if the average woman, American woman's lifespan is 88, that means like less than half our lives are right. Like, okay, pediatricians are doing their thing. And then there's your OB/GYN who's maybe helping you through like pregnancy specific. But what about everything else?
Nobody owns menopause, and that's the thing. OBs are typically have been the ones to deal with it, but they're busy. It can't just be, because it's not just about reproductive organs, it's about your whole body. And part of what really has helped me understand, and if you're out there wondering, well, I don't have these symptoms, I don't have this, you have estrogen receptors on every organ of your body,
Mm,
including your hair, by the way. So this is why you go through changes. So as your estrogen goes down or up during this perimenopausal roller coaster that we go through, you have like this estrogen dominance and this androgen dominance, and you're on a roller coaster basically. Your organs are on that ride with you. So it's no surprise that things are not feeling the same. And for some it's muscle pain, for some it is the hair thinning, but it's also like the mood and the sleep and the taste changes, your gut microbiome changes, all you put on the weight, all of these things that you think like, I can fix this. I know my body, but it's a new body. And I think just get understanding that. And to me, knowledge will give women the, not the power, I hate saying that, but like, just, this is okay. It's not in my
yeah.
head, and I can
Instead of
prepare for it.
gaslighting ourselves.
Instead of
Right.
gaslighting ourselves, we're going to the doctor being gaslit too, because again,
Yeah.
if they're not trained, they're like, they don't know what to do for you.
Yeah.
because there's no like overall menopausal symptom test that you can see what's going on.
Right. Well, and I actually, maybe because I was raised by my grandmother, I had my great grandmother, my great great grandmother all around me my entire life. Women in my family live forever and do lots of really amazing, inspiring stuff in their later years. I never really believed that there was some like hard, fast cut off for our ambition and our goals and our impact in our lives. And yet, when I sit back and I look at the messages we're receiving, it's sort of like, all right, once you hit 40, go be quiet, sit in a corner,
And that's when you have the
take care of
most to
everyone
say.
else's needs.
Yes. And that's what, don't worry about yours, right? And don't
Right.
even,
But it
and you're
really can
fine.
be a time of massive opportunity if we're not distracted by all of this other stuff.
Yes. Because you can really focus on what you can do versus what is happening to you, the energy
Yeah.
that it takes to try to understand. And, it is a journey. And my hopes really is, I feel super lucky that at my age, I am in this world right now where people are talking about it. And I have friends like 10 years ago, it's like, never mention your age. Do not tell anybody how old you are because they're going to quietly put you to rest. Right. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm smart. I have so much to give. And I just did not understand. And I do see that happening before, but now I really see a change of like women are speaking up and they're proud of going through this. And I almost feel like I want to be part of this club now. So I really feel like this whole group of women, and the fact that they're physicians, I think we are here today because we have physicians who are women going through this and going, hold on a second, I'm able to give all these treatments for men and I have nothing for women. So I need to
Mm.
change that. So it really is us who are going to make the change. And similar to, I feel so lucky that like I know what outcomes to look for as a woman, so I can design studies to really validate that experience, right? And without women in these areas, men are fantastic, but they don't go through it. So how would they know? Right? How would they know? So I think when you really feel an experience and you can really study it and make sure that women who are younger now can prepare for menopause, and cannot be so shocked or tabooed out of mentioning it to their doctor, right?
Right. Well, and I think you're bringing up something that's so core to all of this. There's the polar spectrum here of really using our voices and speaking up and asking for and demanding support and being silenced or silencing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and disregarding our own experiences is unimportant or worse yet, untreatable.
And
Right? Like
that's
to
the sad
believe we
part.
can't create change is what's really heartbreaking. And so all of this to me is just data that helps me have hope that change is possible and that we're not stuck. And there's research now that shows that our growth mindset peaks in our 40s,
I can see that.
right?
I feel so like you've gathered all this knowledge and
Yeah.
you've connected the dots throughout your life and you're like, hold on a second, I think I got it, right? And you
Hmm.
want to share that, you want to try to implement that in what you do.
Hmm.
And so you need that voice. And I feel like we
Hmm.
probably have to be a little louder in this generation to make
Hmm.
sure that we do make the space for it. Hopefully the next generation it won't be so hard to make the noise, but I think we need to make this noise and we need to really speak out again to see, because there's something, it's like, what can women do? And you're right, because, to me, what kind of makes me sad is talking to women who've gone through menopause already and say, oh, I went through that, honey, I'm done. I'm like, but you're not done. It's the whole rest of your life. And
Yeah.
just that idea that you're not getting the care for the body in menopause. And so I'm talking to women and they're said, my mother even, she's like, I'm fine. I'm like, are you? Did you check your bone density? Did you check, all these things? So it's really being able to understand how you're going to be able to be the best self physically and emotionally,
That's
um,
it.
in that for the next 30, 40 years of your life.
And it's not even necessarily about extending the lifespan, but about extending the quality of the life.
Exactly. It's and
I don't
having
want to live
being
to 100 if I'm miserable. I want to live as long as I'm having a rich, meaningful life
and
and
physically
be,
able to
yeah,
do these things and being
yeah,
able to speak.
physically,
And,
mentally, emotionally having pleasure.
and if you have the good hair too, that helps
It does.
tremendous.
Feeling good is a big piece of it. And that, I mean, I've always been fascinated by how different aspects of our physical body are drivers for our own comfort and sense of self. And for so many women, hair's a huge part of that.
It's a deal. Like some days are just based upon your hair. I mean, and I hate to sound, but every woman knows this is true. I mean, if you have a bad hair day, it can really set you off the entire day. You can put a hat on, but to me, it's almost like adding insult to injury. Like, so going through, I've done through all these things in my life, and I'm going through menopause, and I have all these symptoms, and I'm tired, and then my hair too. Like, can I really do something about this? We acknowledge it. It's true. This is not all in your head, and there's things that we can do about it.
I love that. And that to me that is a lifestyle, to believe that we have agency
Yes.
and to utilize that freedom of choice to make our lives, our careers, our relationships, our bodies healthier and happier.
Yes. So true. It's so true.
And so for you at this stage of life, what's energizing you, Isabelle?
Goodness, what a good question. I feel like menopause, I kind of serendipitously going through it, I feel like this has become my passion to talk about it and really be a face for it, to also like destigmatize it, right? Because if I can speak normally about it and have these brain fog moments, like now my team, like they're like, oh, here she goes. And they can replace the words now because they know what I'm going to say. But just normalizing it in the workplace, to me, I think we had an event once. It was a group of menopausal women through Nutrafol, where we, brought them in, and it was maybe a group of 10 or 12 of us. And we talked about mental health because I was kind of going through some stats, and women quit their jobs. This is when 5 out of 10 think about quitting their job, and 4 out of 10 do, or something like, maybe it's more than that. But like,
Yeah.
because you just feel like I cannot physically
I heard somewhere
function.
recently that it's a $1.8 billion loss to
It is.
companies annually because women feel unable to perform and therefore have more sick days. They are underutilized in their professional roles.
And they
And
don't ask for
yet,
promotions because they're like, I don't
correct.
think I can do this. And so we are also doing it to ourselves because we don't know what's going on. But like knowing like this is going to be a phase, or there are some things, there are treatments, there are things you can do, or also changing the workplace, right? I'm in a place where I feel like the fact that I'm here talking to you about this, and the fact that I can go back to the company and say like, hey, this is really important. And if we're going to be talking about menopause, we need to implement these changes within the company too. And having that influence, like I never thought I would have that influence, energizes me. Like we could talk about studies all day long, but the fact that you can see real change happening for real women before they go through this, after they go through this, and just normalizing the fact that it's hard right now. I think at this age that I realize I know so much, and I have so many things I want to do and talk about and say. And if I don't gaslight myself into like, I'm tired, I don't have the energy, I can't do this, like, all these things. So, or just knowing this will pass. This is a rough phase right now, but I'll be okay on the other side. So I'm not going to stop everything. I'm not going to I know I believe in myself, but sometimes I am so exhausted. I don't know if I have the energy that I just like, I have to stop. Right. But knowing, okay, not today, but maybe tomorrow or next week, or maybe give yourself a few months, but it's not over. We have this idea that, to your point earlier, like you're 40, you're done, be quiet, versus, oh no,
You've accumulated
so
so
much
much.
to say. When you ask, I love having older women as friends because I've always wanted to know what's going to happen. When I was pregnant, for example, what happens? Nobody tells you, right? It's kind of like you have your period. Nobody tells you the idea of it,
Yeah.
but no, you get very little information. Pregnancy, it's like, see, it's almost like nobody wants to tell you because they're afraid that you're not going to be able to take it, but we can take it as women. I feel like we can educate girls before they have their periods. We can educate during pregnancy, knowing all the things that can happen, not to scare you, but to be informed. And I think menopause is the last one. It wasn't even brought up. It wasn't
No.
even brought up, right? So we have a little bit of the other, but just knowing about our biology and what happens, I think is so hugely important. So we can really understand and not be scared of it, or know it is a phase. And I do have to change things. I do have to change how I take food in and supplements, or all these things for the next third of my life. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
We weren't meant to stay the same.
No, and you're not done. You're not done. You're just
You're just
different, and
changing.
you're just changing, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And I think you do have to mourn a little bit, but I think if you know it's coming, there's times to be, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this right now because I know things are going to change, versus what's going on, what's happening, what's wrong with me. So if we
Right.
can change that narrative of like, it's not what's wrong with you, is you are going
Just
through
changing.
this. It's
That's
just
it.
changing. And what can be on the other side. And that's why
Yeah.
I'm hearing very positive things on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, we're feeling it too. It's
Yes.
just that all this other stuff becomes such a distraction. I always think about what was that book? I feel bad about my neck. I look at it sometimes, I'm like, that's funny, right? It is different.
Yeah.
And there's so much about my life that I wouldn't trade for a 20-year-old for any amount of money.
No, but when you're 20, you don't know that because you just think, oh, because you have this idea of like, I'm going to be done, have a certain shelf life,
Yeah,
but changing that narrative and be like, you're on a different shelf. And it's
that's
a
right.
really good view from
Top
up
tier,
here.
baby.
Top tier, top shelf. I love it.
So one of the things I've been dying to ask you is I don't know that like in your other roles, were you in a role of spokesperson and front woman for the band? Or is this a
Never.
new gig for you?
Never. I was always the one in the back doing the work. So
Like
this
most
is
scientists.
like most scientists. Yeah, I've never been putting me forward facing is very humbling, and because you see yourself and you're so used to. I'm good in small groups. I'm a very introverted person, and so I'm very good in small groups. And so one on one is fantastic. I love these conversations. They're very easy to have because we can really share stories. But I think the fact that this company, like, I don't know the difference between Nutrafol and me at this point anymore because I feel like I've been here so long and I've gone through the journey of the hair and the menopause and just, taking the company from there was few of us to where it is now and really being part of it and looking back and being really proud that I had this opportunity. And so what I would say to anybody who is on a path that they think something else may not be for them, look into it. Take the chance, look into it really because it'll
Mm-hmm.
open things up. And I didn't think I would be a spokesperson, but for menopause, I really didn't. If you told me that in my 20s, I'd be like, you're absolutely crazy. That's insane. But I am so proud. I think that's the part of being on a different shelf now is I am proud. And if I can, sometimes it's going to make me cry. Sorry, this is also part of it. If someone else does not have to think they're crazy and
Yeah.
see me go through it, or knowing that you're not alone in this, or that someone's gone through it and you see their humanity through it and you see the grace that they give themselves, and I'm not always good at that, but it'll influence others. And that's what you can do from the shelf. I think that you can't do from your 20s or your 30s. And so look at the top shelf ladies
Mm.
for guidance or for insights because they've gone through it. And if you give them a chance to talk about it, you will learn so much.
That's really beautiful, Isabel.
Thank you. I really
Yeah.
feel it. Like I really do.
Yeah.
And that's been part of the surprise. So I think whatever journey you're on, just do what's right. I never thought I would be in this situation, but my goodness, what an honor.
What an honor. Truly, truly to pave the path. I love too when I asked you who you wanted to nominate for the podcast, the name you shared and the work she's doing was incredibly meaningful, but it was also the impact she'd had on you that really moved me. So who would you like to nominate, Isabel?
I would like to nominate Dr. Komen. She's a breast oncologist in New York City, and she wrote this amazing book called All in Her Head that walks through the medical history of women to make you feel like you're not crazy because there's a reason why women are treated the way they are that's come from history. So she's a historical writer. But not only that, she is such a light and a lovely human who, at a moment that I was going to go on stage and I had super big imposter syndrome, I'm like, what am I doing here? She just looked at me and she saw my face. Like, and this is where how amazing people are, how women can be. That she just looked at me and she's like, how are you? I'm like, I don't know, I'm not doing so great because she saw it, right? I wouldn't have never have said anything out loud, but she did, and she just said, all right, let's get you in the mood. And she just sat with me for 5 minutes and she's like, what music makes you feel happy? And she's like, main character energy, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, who am I that she could do this for? Right. So
Oh,
it was so nice. And I was like, I will never, ever forget that. And I will do that for others always. Sorry. It just, the kindness, don't ever underestimate or overestimate the kindness of doing such a small gesture of like reaching out when you see someone who's maybe not doing their best or they look a little lost or they are looking like not comfortable and just holding
mhm.
their hand or just those simple
Yeah.
things are just so helpful. So yes, that's why I nominate.
Thank you. I
Thank
will
you.
say too that I think one of the big takeaways from this conversation is the power of honesty, to
Yes.
acknowledge that everything isn't great in every moment because it allows us to be supported, whether it's with our hair or our confidence or our speaking or our leadership or our relationships. Faking it under the table is not going to make things better.
It's not faking it under the, I'm going to take that from you. Faking it under the table should not be an option. I love it.
And yet we were trained to fake it under the table.
We were.
And so of course we do. But I did not expect that to be the thing that I walked away with and that will make me think of you now when I do what I believe is the most courageous thing I can do in my own life, which is have courageous conversations.
Honesty. Be who you are in that moment. And it's okay not to be at your best right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Sometimes
you so
not at our
much.
best is the best. Thank you.
It is. It is
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
To our dear audience, there is a link in the show notes. You can use code uplifters. This is the first time we've had like a code on this show. I mean,
Fantastic.
we're like so fancy. Use code uplifters at Nutrafol to get a great discount. And let me know. I want to hear other people's experiences. I'm
Yes.
loving it. And I loved talking to you, Isabelle. And I'm so grateful for all the work that you're doing to bring more diverse thinking to science for sure, to address women's challenges directly and head on. But most of all, for the way that you're leading through this journey, it's powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the Uplifters podcast. If this inspired you, hit subscribe and tap the bell to stay uplifted. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little lift today. Big love.
Painted water sunshine with rosemary and thyme. Dwell in the perplexing, though you find it vexing. Toss a star and hover, be your own best lover. Relish in a new prime, plant a tree in springtime. Dance with idle hindsight, bring the sun to twilight.